I was with IBM when we acquired Cognos.
Mm,
And on the flip side, I was with Business Objects when they got acquired by SAP a few months before.
right.
So I've been on both sides of the table. And what I noticed is they tend to reduce the headcount, and it's usually the frontline team. So keeping in mind that the acquisition is actually happening to increase revenues,
Mm.
because that is something that is primarily to do with owning the relationship with the client. So how does one really take care of the culture?
Yeah, yeah, this is probably the single most difficult part of any post-merger or acquisition integration. And like you, I was at IBM, so I'd left Cognos 2 years prior to
Okay.
IBM making the acquisition, and at the time it was IBM's largest acquisition at $5 billion. And I
Yes.
watched with some dismay practical dismantling of Cognos. And I get why, because you're bringing a relatively small organization into a massive company. I think there were about 400,000 employees at
True.
IBM when that acquisition took place. And the culture was you'll fit in or you probably won't be here. Now, whilst it wasn't used, that narrative wasn't expressly used, but that's essentially what it felt like for a lot of my colleagues and friends coming in from Cognos. They felt like they'd just been sucked into this enormous machine, weren't all
True.
made to feel welcome, and the cultures could not have been more different. The culture at Cognos was very collegiate. Some people would describe it almost like a family. Of course, it wasn't a family, but it felt very friendly. It felt like you were taken care of. And that's not to say that IBM didn't take care of its people, because it absolutely did. But there was a very different culture, still performance driven, but the two cultures had a moment of collision. And I'm not sure that IBM, on reflection, got it right. In fact, I know that there would be people who would tell you they didn't get it right. The focus should be, from my perspective, and I can only speak to slightly smaller acquisitions. My level of expertise doesn't extend to 5 billion yet acquisitions. But where I find the most focus is understand, as I said earlier, where your people are most alike. Where are the areas? And there are always pockets where you can see that you're more alike than you are different. Bring those people together as quickly as you can and try to meet in the middle rather than having them come over to your side. Off sites are brilliant for this, neutral zones where you can bring people together and learn about the cultures, learn about what it was that made, in this example, Cognos really successful, and then help the Cognos people understand what it is about IBM that makes it so successful. Ultimately, you're selling technology to customers who want to get further ahead. The culture and style of selling wasn't wildly different, but it was just the way it was managed, the way performance was managed was different. IBM is or was a very tightly managed organization. Cognos was tightly managed, but it was nowhere near as maniacally focused on day to day measurement of performance. I recall 8 a.m. calls and then 6 p.m. calls on the same day every day at IBM. I'm not sure that level of cadence actually improved anything other than, well, I can't think of a single thing it did improve. Cognos was not like that. So I think focus on the people, focus on where you're more alike, and really do all you can to ensure that the people you need most are the ones who feel most welcome first, and then have that percolate out across the organization that you're acquiring. I can still recall that acquisition and the subsequent integration. A lot of people did leave. There were some who were genuinely very, very excited about the potential opportunity that IBM offered them. Whether it was ever realized, I don't know.